Welcome agents, what if I told you the developers were considering a Battle Royale mode for the Division 2? What about if I told you an invasion type mode was being considered, where you could invade other people's games? What about a sniper only mode in PvP? Well, it's quite possible these are on the table. Actually, it's very possible these are on the table and being considered for future content following another recent survey that's been sent out to certain individuals. Unfortunately, I never got this survey, but my mate Agent Obi on Twitter did and sent me some screenshots, so let's take a look and discuss what the developers are considering for content. If you enjoy this one, drop a like, it does help me out. Subscribe for dedicated Division 2 content, and let's begin. Okay, so just to cut straight to the chase, there's actually two screenshots. We're going to start with the first one here, which is talking about like fantasy and what you want from the game, and then we're going to go on to Battle Royale and all of that stuff here. So on screen you're going to see the first screenshot, again sent by Agent Obi to me. The question asked here is, which division fantasy appeals to you the most? So we have hunting down rogue agents, fighting a nation that invades a crippled America, helping civilians rebuild, finding stories about what happened since the collapse, being the last defense of an apocalypse, exploring a dark zone which has been breached, defending a city against enemy factions, becoming more powerful as you get better equipment skills, exploring an iconic city reclaimed by nature, and then other, please specify. Now for me, the idea of hunting down rogues is still something I very much enjoy doing. Although, I'll be honest, I've barely touched the Dark Zone in the Division 2, although it is something I'm considering to touch more with Title Update 6. I just need to get a decent build for it. Now in the Division 1, I was in the Dark Zone a lot, at least at the start of the game's life cycle, so it still very much appeals to me. And I would very much like to see this, and I do like that fantasy within this game. It's quite unique to this game. Next up we have the fighting a nation, and I think that could be, could be elaborated on. Now, obviously, with that idea, when that comes to the page, I automatically think of the second raid location, which has actually been rumoured to be based in Russia. And I just think it would be really cool to fight against another nation. And, whilst we've had that in the series, I think more investment in this could probably be a good idea. And again, I quite like that fantasy. Next up, we had helping civilians rebuild, which is, funny because that's the premise of the Division 2. Now, personally, I don't like it. I don't like the rebuilding stuff at all. Collecting resources and giving them to civilians, it's just not something I enjoy. Now, at first, I won't lie, I kind of did because, it was new, but it just got old very quickly. And, when you consider that every time you take back a control point or, help a civilian, it won't be long before it's taken back sometime later. You do all of this good work, you get all these control points, and then suddenly it's been invaded or suddenly it's all gone and you have to repeat the process. It just gets very monotonous, and personally I'm not that bothered about helping civilians. I just want my character to be helped and to get stronger. But anyway, next up we got finding stories about what happened since the collapse is summer. I think, again, I enjoy that kind of story. I really enjoy the lore of the franchise, so I just think more of this is probably a good idea. I'm not going to go through all of these options here, guys, but, I like the idea of defending the city against enemy factions. We had like the Horde sort of wave mode, similar to Resistance from the Division, of course. Becoming more powerful as you get better equipment and skills, that's top priority for me, and I assume that's going to be top priority for anyone who really plays this game, because that's what this game is all about. Now, I think this may have been actually added here because I think the developers are wanting to see what people think about a gear score increase, which is somewhat I advocated for to be included in Title Update 6. Just because Title Update 6 was such a huge update, people are going to be obviously refarming their gear. When they increase the gear score, then as long as they fix the gear score, or at least make it better than what it is now and maybe go back to how it was in the Division 1, then people are going to refarm again. And I didn't want that to happen twice, which is why I advocated it to be included in Title Update 6, but that didn't happen. So this likely is going to come into effect probably in Year 2. And then the last one on the list is exploring an iconic city reclaimed by nature. Again, some, of course, I would absolutely be interested, because all I can think of is going back to Manhattan, going back to New York, which would be awesome. So, yeah, that's the first screenshot. I want to take a look at the game modes for the Division 2 that the devs are considering, because this is where the real highlights come. So on screen, you're going to see the second screenshot titled, "How interested would you be on playing the following game modes in the Division 2? And as you'll see, Agent Obi has responded with his answers. And this particular question is just very interesting to me, because it outlines modes developers have considered could be somewhat they would add to the game as future game modes. Otherwise, I assume they wouldn't be put in here. So with that in mind, what have we got? First up, we got sniper only mode. Like Obi, I just wouldn't be interested in this at all. And I'm actually very confused as to why this would be an option. Now I'm going to assume this is a PvP option only, and this would just be absolutely horrible. In fact, as we go through these, you'll see that no one other mode appears to be a PvP exclusive option. That's quite scary considering the amount of Reddit posts, Ubisoft forum posts and Twitter posts from the community have been asking for something similar to Last Stand for the Division 2. No one wants sniper only mode, so please do not consider this as future content. Next up, Battle Royale. Now some would say that Survival from the Division was very much a Battle Royale type mode, which, is somewhat true in the PvP environment. So what about an actual Battle Royale mode in the Division 2? What would you think about that? I want you to leave a comment down below saying yes, no or maybe, and we'll see what the overall consensus is based on this video. Now whilst I'm not the biggest fan of the Battle Royale sort of mode itself, except for Apex Legends, which I actually really enjoy, I think it could work really well here. Now like the Division 2 has all the components to make it work. And I can imagine a mode like this would draw quite an audience. If done properly, it can actually really push this game back into the limelight, which this game really needs right now. Now, I might be on my own with this, but I think this would be the best addition to the game right now in respect to content, although it cannot come on its own. I say that because Battle Royale wouldn't allow you to use the builds, everyone in the community has been grinding for. So there needs to be some replayable content to satisfy, the grind that people has to put in to get that gear. So for me, Battle Royale is something I would be extremely interested in, but only if it comes with another replayable PvE and or PvP game mode. Probably another replayable PvE and PvP game mode. It couldn't come on its own. I think that would be a disaster. Players able to invade each other's games. Now this is quite interesting. Reminds me of Gambit from Destiny 2, where you can invade other teams' game mode and basically cause havoc. A mode like this in the Division 2 could work really well. A mixture of kind of PvE and PvP. It would have to be implemented properly though, because when I first read this option, my immediate thought was a mode that could be very toxic, which is just something the game does not need. But I think overall, if it works similar to Gambit, where it was pretty much PvE and you had to work towards a common goal as a team. However, you could be invaded at pretty much intervals, essentially, depending on how well you're playing, essentially, as a team. I think it could be cool. And again, I think that would be not unique to the game, obviously, because it's in Destiny 2, but I don't know if really this game will be implemented in any other game. So putting a Division 2 spin on it, I think that will be welcome within the community. We then got gameplay modifiers and changes, e.g. Outbreak, Ambush, etc. So obviously this goes back to the events we had with the Division, the seasonal events or whatever they were. And these were fun, but I just wouldn't want these to come back. I'd want something different. So I don't think I'd be interested in this personally. I did enjoy it before, but I think I just got bored now, especially considering that I actually rarely play the Division specifically for these modifiers, only to get the exclusive rewards from them. And then once that was done, I kind of never played them again. So to have this back in the Division 2, I'm not that fussed about. I think they're not important at all. Time trial missions, for me, not interested in this at all. This just reminds me of the mastery system from Expeditions. It's just not for me. I think we need some new content, some new game modes on new content. Then we got procedurally generated levels, obviously going back to the underground mode from the Division, and I can see a trend here where a lot of these are stuff that was in the Division before. Now this one for me was one of my favourite modes from the Division. I put so many hours in the underground, and having something similar return I think would be cool, but only if the developers included the random hunter spawns. They were amazing. I don't know why these have not been carried over into the Division 2. I just can't fathom that, especially when you consider that this actually happens during the campaign. Did the developers just not realise how much the community loves hunters? I mean, the game was popping when you were trying to find all the masks, at least for me. So I just think bring back a mode like this, and devs, just bring back the hunters. People love hunters. We then got the perma-death campaign. Again, just like the time trial missions, not interested for me. I've played the campaign so many times now, I just wouldn't do it. I get bored. I want to see new content on new modes. I don't want new, sort of new modes on old content. All right, we've played all the content, so just give us new modes on new content. So permadeath campaign, no, not for me. 2 versus 2. Nope, wouldn't be interested in this at all. And yeah, this is the second PvP only mode alongside sniper only, and that's scary. That's really scary. Because we've got 2 versus 2 and we've got sniper only mode for PvP options. Are they serious? Look, devs, listen, right? This community does not want competitive PvP modes. They want large scale PvP game modes. We want like 10 versus 10 or more. We want something similar to Last Stand but new and reimagined. Just stop it with the competitive PvP modes. I've said this before, but if this is Redstorm coming up with these ideas, then they need to go. I mean, this is ridiculous. Having 2 versus 2 and sniper only mode in these options, although you get the option to kind of specify what else you want, I believe, then no, we don't want this. You know what we want. This has been on every post that I've ever found. No one has ever asked for 2 versus 2. No one ever asked for the new Team Elimination competitive mode. No one ever asked for sniper only mode. The only thing I ever see from this PvP community is fix the Dark Zone. Okay, and the Dark Zone's better now than it was, but fix a Dark Zone and give us some large scale, sort of crazy, manic PvP modes where it's a lot of fun. Okay, we don't want sweat, we want fun. So no. And then lastly, I'm sorry about the rant, but it's frustrating. Lastly, we got the hordes, waves of enemies. Again, going back to the Division here with Resistance, which was one of my favourite modes. And on second thoughts, a horde type PvE mode would be the perfect addition to this game right now. Battle Royale and a Resistance type mode at the same time would just be awesome. Resistance was great because it was wave based and the rounds were infinite, meaning there was some real competition within the community, and it also relied on not only your knowledge of the mode but also the build and synergy with your teammates. This mode is absolutely perfect for testing your builds to its limit. So for me, we have to have Resistance type mode back in the Division 2. That has to be the next mode that they put in this game. This would be the best replayable PvE game mode that you could add to the game right now, which is paramount to this game's survival, because that's what this game really needs. It needs replayable PvE and PvP content. PvP, it just needs to be mainly fun, okay, not competitive. But for PvE, it needs to be replayable. You need to be able to use the builds that you've made, okay? You need to be able to test those builds. So someone like this, someone like Resistance, would be perfect. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. I know I went on a little bit of a rant in respect to the PvP stuff. It's just frustrating when you have a survey like this and it doesn't seem to consider what the community has been talking about in respect to PvP. No one wants competitive PvP game modes. Everyone wants fun, large-scale PvP modes. So developers, if you watch this video, which I highly doubt, but if you do, then please just listen to me and listen to the community, because we've been talking about this for a while. In respect to PvE, we have to get replayable PvE content. Resistance, for me, is the next one. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Until the next one, Epic out.